Some places hold on to their secrets like a clenched fist, refusing to let go. Some places don't just remember, they watch, they whisper, they hunger. You can feel it in the air, a weight that presses against your chest, a silence that's too alive, too aware. These are the haunted places, where shadows linger long after the lights go out, where voices call from empty rooms, and where fear clings to every wall, every floorboard, every breath. These are not tales spun to scare children, nor legends born of imagination. These are true stories, warnings carved into the bones of places that never forget, never forgive, and never let you leave. Tonight, you'll hear the stories of those who crossed paths with these places: haunted asylums, cursed hotels, forests that know your name. Each step they took, each door they opened, brought them closer to something that should have stayed buried. So, if you're listening as the night grows quiet, keep a light on. Because once you hear these stories, once you know these places, they may know you too. And sometimes, in the dead of night, they call. At the edge of a forgotten town in Ohio, where the fields give way to tangled weeds and skeletal trees, stands the Willow Creek Asylum, abandoned since 1987. Its red brick walls are crumbling, scarred by time, the windows shattered, their jagged edges catching the moonlight like broken teeth. Once a hospital for the mentally ill, it housed hundreds of patients whose screams, whispers, and pleas were silenced when the doors were chained shut. But the locals know better than to call it empty. The asylum's silence is a lie, filled with echoes that shouldn't exist, sounds that linger in the dust-choked air like ghosts that refuse to fade. Security guards hired to patrol the grounds rarely lasted a month. They spoke of screams high, desperate, raw, echoing down the rusted corridors of the third floor, where the isolation wards once stood, though no one has lived there in decades. Footsteps followed them, always just behind, running, scrambling across the concrete. But when they turned, the halls were bare, the dust undisturbed, the air heavy with the scent of mildew, and something sharper, like old blood. One guard, Tom, a skeptic with a no-nonsense attitude, brought a tape recorder in 2015, determined to debunk the stories. He patrolled alone, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, catching faded graffiti scratched names, please like "help me" and "don't leave," etched into the peeling paint of the ward doors. The air grew colder as he climbed to the third floor, the scent of blood stronger, the silence so thick it pressed against his chest. His flashlight flickered, though the batteries were new, and he heard a faint sob, then a scream sharp and human from the end of the hall. He called out, his voice swallowed by the walls, but no one answered. The recorder ran, capturing every step, every breath. When he played it back the next morning, his blood ran cold. Static hissed, loud and jagged. But beneath it, a woman's voice sobbed, clear and raw. "Don't leave me here. Please, don't leave me." The voice wasn't alone. A chorus of whispers layered beneath it, some pleading, some laughing, in languages he didn't recognize, their tones shifting from sorrow to menace. Tom quit that night, leaving the tape on his boss's desk. When tested later, the recorder's batteries were dead, drained before he'd even entered the asylum. The clerk keeps a flashlight by the desk. Its batteries change daily, and the staff never linger near that door after dusk. Locals whisper of a guest who vanished in 1995, leaving only a suitcase and a note. "It won't let me leave. If you find yourself at the Starlight, take room 8 or any other. But if you're given the key to room 6, don't turn it. Don't step inside. Because something's already there, waiting in the dark, and it knows your name." Paused near a grave marked "Unknown, 1873. Swearing. She heard her name whispered soft, urgent, as if from the soil itself. The group laughed it off, But their footage, reviewed the next day, stopped their laughter cold. In the corner of the frame, a tall figure stood motionless among the graves, its face obscured, its form flickering like static. In the moment, no one had seen it, but the video showed it following them, always just out of sight. Its head tilted, as if listening. The camera caught a faint sound, a low, guttural hum, like a voice trying to form words. They fled, leaving a flashlight behind, its beams still glowing when Amos found it at dawn. The bulb was shattered, the metal casing scratched with jagged marks, too deep for human nails, forming a pattern like a smile. Amos, when questioned, only shook his head, his voice low. The dead don't rest easy here. He's heard the whispers too, felt the cold that lingers even in the Georgia summer, a chill that seeps from the cemetery's center where a cracked mausoleum stands, its stone doors sealed with a rusted lock. Once, in 2021, he found a child's shoe, new, clean, impossibly small, placed neatly on a grave, though no one had entered the cemetery that night. His flashlight caught fresh scratches on the mausoleum's door, as if something had tried to claw its way out. Locals whisper of a history buried with the graves, tales of a ritual gone wrong in the 1800s, blood spilled to bind something to the land. An ex-post from 2022, by a user claiming to live nearby, described lights flickering in the cemetery at midnight, moving between graves like fireflies, though no one was there. Another claimed to hear sobbing from the mausoleum, a sound that stopped when approached. Old Hollow is no place for the curious. If you visit, leave before dusk, and don't look back, because after dark, the gates may lock, but something else walks free, and it knows you're there. In a forgotten corner of Tennessee, where the fields stretch barren and the roads grow quiet, the Crestwood train station stands abandoned, a crumbling relic, frozen in time since a catastrophic derailment in 1962 claimed 47 lives. Its platform is cracked, weeds clawing through the concrete, its tracks rusted and silent, no train having passed through in decades. The station's windows are boarded, its ticket booth coated in dust, and its clock, mounted above the entrance, is stuck at 11:47 p.m. The exact moment the train careened off the rails, its screams swallowed by the night. Locals avoid the station, their whispers warning of figures that linger where no one should be, of sounds that echo where silence should reign. Crestwood isn't empty, it's waiting. Every year, on the anniversary of the crash, a train whistle pierces the town, sharp and mournful, though the tracks have been unused since the tragedy. In 2021, a group of urban explorers, led by Mia, a 24-year-old vlogger, slipped past the station's chained gates, their flashlights cutting through the dark. The air inside was heavy, smelling of rust and something sweeter, like decay. The floor littered with faded posters and shattered benches. Mia's camera captured the stillness, but her audio picked up footsteps slow, deliberate, following them through the waiting room, though the dust on the floor showed no prints. At one point, her recorder caught a voice, low and urgent, saying, "Get on the train," though no one in the group had spoken. The air grew colder, the scent of decay stronger, and the station's clock, long broken, ticked once, loudly, as if waking. Travelers passing by at night report seeing figures on the platform, men and women in old-fashioned coats, their faces pale, their eyes too wide, staring at the tracks as if expecting a train that never comes. One trucker, stopping to rest in 2019, swore he saw a crowd gathered under the station's flickering lamppost, motionless, their shadows stretching too long, too thin. When he blinked, they were gone. But his truck's radio crackled with static, a voice whispering, "It's time to board." He drove off, heart pounding, and later found his map left on the dashboard, marked with a muddy handprint, its fingers unnaturally long. Locals whisper of a conductor seen in the station's windows, his uniform tattered, his face obscured, waving as if beckoning passers-by. The station's history is steeped in tragedy, but older tales hint at something darker, a ritual performed on the land before the tracks were laid. A bargain sealed in blood to ensure safe passage, broken by the crash. An ex-post from 2022 by a user claiming to live nearby described lights flickering inside the station, darting between windows like eyes searching the night, though the power was cut decades ago. Another reported hearing laughter high, childlike from the tracks, though no children live nearby. Crestwood train station stands silent, its platform empty but never still, its whistle calling year after year. If you pass by, don't stop. Don't look at the figures waiting in the dark, because they're still waiting for a train that never comes, and they want you to join them. On the outskirts of a small village in Maine, where the pines grow dense and the road fades to dirt, stands the hollow oak church, its steeple leaning like a broken finger against the sky. Built in 1872, it was gutted by a fire in 1948. Its pews charred, its altar cracked, yet it remains, its doors locked, its bell silent. No congregation gathers there, no sermons echo through its walls, but the church is far from empty. Locals whisper it was built on cursed land, a site where something ancient was disturbed, its wrath sealed into the stones. Those who enter describe the air as heavy, thick with the scent of ash and something bitter, like old blood, pressing down like a weight on their chests. The church doesn't want worship. It wants you to stay. In 2022, a group of locals, driven by curiosity and a bottle of cheap whiskey, pried open the church's rusted lock at midnight, their candles flickering in the windless air. The interior was a ruin, blackened pews, shattered stained glass casting jagged shadows, the altar marked with scratches that formed no words. The air grew colder with each step, the scent of ash stronger, and the candles flickered violently, though no breeze stirred. Clara, a 30-year-old teacher, felt her skin prickle as she heard her name whispered soft, pleading from the pulpit, though the group was alone. Halfway through their exploration, a wooden cross, bolted to the wall above the altar, fell with a crash, its wood splintering, as if struck by an unseen force. No one had touched it, but the air turned ice cold, the shadows seeming to writhe, and a low hum pulsed through the floorboards like a heartbeat. The group fled, leaving their candles burning, their flames dancing wildly in the dark. Clara later posted on X, "Heard my name in Hollow Oak Church last night. Something's alive in there. Haunted Maine." The next morning, the village priest, Father Ellis, checked the church, his hands trembling as he unlocked the door. The candles were gone, but pools of warm wax marked the floor, forming shapes, hands, faces, eyes that melted when he touched them. The cross, now back on the wall, bore fresh scratches, as if clawed in the night. He locked the door and hasn't returned since, refusing to speak of what he saw. Locals avoid the church, their stories warning of lights flickering inside at night, though the power was cut decades ago. Some hear a faint hymn, sung in a voice no one recognizes, drifting through the pines. An old woman, who'd lived in the village all her life, claimed she saw a figure in the steeple once tall, too thin, its face obscured, watching the road below. The church's history hints at a ritual performed before its construction. Blood spilled to appease the land, but something went wrong, binding it to the stones. If you pass by Hollow Oak, don't stop. Don't look through the boarded windows. The church knows you're there, and its hymn is a call to stay forever. In the heart of rural Kentucky, where the fields stretch wide, and the nearest neighbor is a distant speck, a farmhouse stands alone, its white paint peeling like flaking skin, its windows dark, but gleaming with a strange, watchful glint. From the road, it looks ordinary, a two-story relic of simpler times, surrounded by swaying grass and skeletal trees. but those who live there feel its gaze, as if the house itself is alive, its windows not reflecting the world but staring back, knowing more than they should. The Carter family moved in during the summer of 2020, drawn by the low price and the promise of quiet. They didn't know the neighbors' whispers, the warnings that no family lasts a year inside, that the house doesn't let them go. Within weeks, the Carters noticed the windows always catching their movements, their reflections distorted, as if something else stared back from the glass. At night, their youngest, Lily, only 6, whispered to her parents that the house talked when everyone slept. She described a voice, soft, low, almost tender, urging them to stay forever, coming from the walls themselves. Doors opened on their own, closing with a gentle click when no one was near. The family found scratches on the attic walls, faint, jagged, forming words like mine and stay, etched too high for a child's reach. The air grew heavier each night, thick with the scent of dust and something sharper, like old blood, and the floorboards creaked as if someone paced just out of sight. Lily's drawings, once bright with crayons, turned dark sketches of a tall, thin figure in a long coat, standing in the yard, its face a smudge of black. Her mother, Ellen, posted on X in desperation. "The house feels alive. Lily says it wants us to stay." Haunted Kentucky. Neighbors, tight-lipped, shared stories of previous tenants' families who fled in the night, leaving belongings behind, their cars packed in haste. One claimed to see lights flickering in the farmhouse's windows, though the power was cut after the last tenants left. Another heard laughter high, childlike from the attic, though no children lived there. When the Carters finally fled in early 2021, their car speeding down the gravel road, the windows seemed darker, almost angry, as if the house resented their escape. Ellen later found a photo from their last day, a family selfie in the yard, showing a shadow in the upstairs window, tall and still, though no one was home. The farmhouse still stands, its for sale sign weathered, its price absurdly low, a lure for the unwary. Locals say the land was cursed long before the house was built, blood spilled in a forgotten ritual that woke something ancient. If you drive by at night, don't look too long at the windows. The house knows you're there, and its gaze doesn't let go. Along a desolate highway in Oregon, where the rain never seems to stop, and the fog clings to the pavement, the Pineview Inn slumps like a forgotten memory, its faded sign barely legible under the weight of years. The inn is small, its paint chipped, its rooms rarely filled, a last resort for travelers too tired to drive on. Most guests pass through unnoticed, but those who stay in room 4 tell stories they can't shake, stories of a room that feels too alive, too watchful. The innkeeper, a pale woman with nervous hands, avoids questions about room 4, her eyes darting to the key rack, as if it might betray her. The room is always available, its price too low, its door slightly ajar, as if inviting someone in. But those who take the key find more than a bed waiting for them. In 2023, a traveler named Daniel, a 32-year-old salesman worn out from a long drive, checked in late, ignoring the innkeeper's hesitant suggestion to take room 5 instead. He laughed it off, tossing his bag onto the creaking bed in room 4, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and mildew. The room was sparse. A sagging mattress, a cracked mirror, a single flickering bulb overhead, but it was cheap, and he needed sleep. At 3 a.m., he woke to a cold weight on his chest, as if the air itself were pressing him down. The room was pitch black, the bulb dead, and he heard its soft scratches, like nails dragging across the walls. Circling closer, his flashlight beam trembled, revealing handprints muddy, 2 long-fingered smeared across the walls, high up, far above human reach. His name whispered from the corner, low and guttural, followed by a faint giggle, high and wrong. Daniel stumbled to the door, heart pounding, but it wouldn't budge, though the lock was undone. The mirror fogged, though the air was warm, and in its reflection, a shadow loomed tall, too thin, its face a smudge of darkness watching him. He yanked the door open and fled, leaving his bag behind. The next morning, he confronted the innkeeper, his voice shaking as he described the handprints, the whisper. She turned pale, her hands trembling as she whispered, "You stayed in room 4, didn't you? That room's been closed for years." She refused to explain, shoving his key deposit into his hand, her eyes avoiding the hallway. When Daniel returned to his car, his rear-view mirror showed a figure in the inn's window, tall, motionless, its face obscured, watching him drive away. Locals whisper of a guest who vanished from room 4 in 1998, leaving only a suitcase and a note. "It knows I'm here." An ex-post from 2022 by a user claiming to have worked at the inn described finding scratches on room 4's door, jagged, forming the word "stay," though no one had entered for weeks. The inn still operates. Room 4 always available. Its door never fully closed. If you check in, take any room but that one. Something's already there, its handprints waiting, its voice ready to call your name. Perched on a jagged cliff along the storm-battered coast of Maine, the Gray Point Lighthouse stands abandoned, its cracked lens dark since a violent storm in 1975 claimed its keeper. The tower looms over the churning sea, its white paint peeling, its iron staircase spiraling into shadows. No light has swept the horizon in decades, yet locals swear they see it glow at night, a pale, unnatural pulse, like a heartbeat in the fog. Fishermen avoid the waters nearby, their nets snagging on strange objects' bones, too small to be human, etched with symbols no one can read. The lighthouse is more than a ruin. It's a sentinel, watching, waiting, its silence filled with something that knows you're there. In 2019, Rachel, a 29-year-old journalist with a knack for uncovering the strange, visited Gray Point, her recorder running as she climbed the rusted stairs. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of salt and decay, the walls slick with damp that seemed to seep from nowhere. Each step creaked, the sound echoing unnaturally, as if the tower were breathing. At the top, in the lantern room, she found a journal, its pages brittle, ink faded, detailing the keeper's final days. "It watches from the shadows. It wants the light. It wants me." As she read, the air grew colder, the scent of decay stronger, and the beacon flickered on, though the power had been cut for decades. Its light pulsed, casting shadows that moved too quickly, too deliberately, across the cracked lens. Rachel's recorder caught a voice, low, guttural, not her own, saying, "Stay." She froze, her flashlight trembling, revealing a shadow on the wall, tall, too thin, its edges blurring like smoke, its head tilted, as if watching her. She fled, the journal slipping from her hands, the stairs groaning under her weight. Her ex-post that night read, "Gray Point Lighthouse isn't empty. Something's alive in there. Haunted Maine." When she played the recording later, the voice repeated, layered with whispers, in a language she didn't know, growing louder, angrier, as if the lighthouse itself were speaking. She never returned, but the journal's words haunted her dreams, the beacon's pulse calling her back. Locals whisper of a keeper who vanished in 1975, his body never found, his log hinting at a presence tied to the cliff, a ritual performed by early settlers, blood spilled to calm the sea, binding something to the land. Fishermen report seeing the beacon's glow at midnight, its light sweeping the waves, though no one tends it. An ex-post from 2023 claimed a shadow moved in the lantern room, its form too tall, too still, watching the shore. The lighthouse stands, its door locked, its light dark, but never truly off. If you visit, don't climb the stairs. Don't look into the lens, because something's waiting in the shadows. and it's hungry for a new keeper. You've walked through the shadows of haunted places, abandoned asylums where screams cling to the walls, cursed hotel rooms where your name is whispered in the dark, forests that call you to stay forever. Each story has left a mark, a chill that settles in your bones, a question that lingers. What makes a place haunted? It's not just the echoes of tragedy or the weight of history. It's something older, darker, something that binds itself to the stones, the trees, the very air you breathe. These places aren't just haunted, they're alive, fed by fear, by blood, by the souls they claim. They watch, they wait, and they know you now, because you've heard their stories, felt their gaze. The Willow Creek Asylum still stands, its windows glinting like eyes in the moonlight, its corridors echoing with pleas. No one answers. Room 6 at the Starlight Motel remains empty, its door ajar, waiting for the next weary traveler to hear their name in the dark. Blackwood Forest hums with voices, its paths shifting to keep those who answer its call. Old Hollow Cemetery's gates creak at night, its shadows moving against the gravestones, whispering from beneath the earth. The Crestwood train station's platform holds figures that stare at rusted tracks, their eyes too wide, too dark. The Hollow Oak Church sings hymns no one taught it, its wax pooling into faces that watch. The Pineview Inn's Room 4 bears handprints too high, too wrong, its door never fully closed. And the Gray Point Lighthouse pulses with a light that shouldn't be, its shadow searching for a keeper. These places don't become haunted on their own. Something makes them that way. Something that lingers, that hungers, that claims. So tonight as you lie in the quiet, listen closely. Is that the wind outside your window, or a whisper calling your name? Are those creaks just the house settling, or footsteps circling in the dark? Keep a light on, keep your doors locked, because these places know you now. They've marked you. And if you hear a knock at midnight, a voice in the silence, don't answer. Because some doors, once opened, never close, and some places, once they know you, never let you go.